Light spoilers ahead. Atomfall, overall it's decent. I had fun blasting through this on a weekend for what this is, but Atomfall's definitely on the short side, and maybe lacking in a few areas I'll get into through the review.
Not saying you were on this stretch before.
So Atomfall basically takes place in an alternative 1960s Cumberland Britain, where you'll meet our fabulously well-spoken British citizens.
Ugh, bunch of little Hitlers.
And you'll see how we sustain ourselves entirely on cake, tea and Cornish pasties. You wake up with a classic case of amnesia, only to be met with creepy cryptic phone calls that makes it feel like someone's watching your every move.
You should trust no one.
The developers Rebellion, they describe this as a new survival action game. It's first person and part RPG. I've seen some reviewers or players compare this with Fallout, and personally I don't think I'd directly compare them. They have some similar elements, but I'd say this is closer to a British take on Stalker. Well, a very light take.
In the name of Queen and country, follow protocol or face the consequences.
The game world is made up of 3 open explorable areas, a large town and the Interchange. Your primary goal is to progress and explore the Interchange, which is a large facility filled with puzzles, unknown dangers and maybe some secrets.
Think of all the secrets that might be hidden here.
At the start of the game you'll be able to choose a difficulty and you'll be able to change these settings at any point. The recommended difficulty hides waymarkers and requires you to really pay attention and read into quests, this time called leads. The game heavily relies on environmental storytelling with loads of notes or audio logs to find throughout the game world.
You're very well informed, I must say.
There's a huge mix of different British accents in Cumberland Lake District.
You obey orders, or it's the jug for you.
You'd never chuck us in the prison. I'd die there.
And the game's main town of Windham looks like it's straight out of a British TV soap. Gotta admit, this place looks pretty nice. There's little side quests or leads to investigate, like bumping into the vicar trying to hide a dead body in the church.
Please, tell no one.
To a bakery with some spooky noises going on upstairs. And I do appreciate that as a player, we have the agency to murder absolutely anyone for any reason. That does include murdering the town's baker to steal some Cornish pasties. Outside the town of Windham, we've got bandits, crazy druids, British soldiers, giant robots,
Stand back, citizen.
and whatever secrets lie in the Interchange. General gameplay is decent. There's a few guns you'll have to scavenge ammo for, but I'd usually make use of melee weapons to conserve ammo, and that does include cricket bats. There's a heartbeat monitor which functions as a reverse stamina bar, and every weapon has a light attack and heavier charged up one. My general strategy would be to move in and out with heavy attacks. Alternatively, you could always just lob your weapon, which is always really satisfying.
What the?
Bit finicky retrieving your weapon though. I wish it would just automatically return to me when I walked over it.
Heck! Christ on a bike!
Speaking of returning, if you're enjoying this, consider subbing to Peter Bytes or liking the video for more content like this. Cover lots of RPGs, you might like my Final Fantasy series where I'm replaying them all and ranking them against each other as I go. Thank you.
See you around.
I've got to admit the AI isn't brilliant at times. They'll often get stuck.
Bastard!
And stealth is a bit funny with enemies sometimes being completely useless.
Bastard, they've gone.
You've also got 4 hotkey slots exclusively for weapons. And to be honest, on PC with keyboard and mouse, I'd like more than 4, and it'd be nice if I could hotkey things like healing items as well. Overall it feels like the user interface is designed specifically for controllers. For instance, I can't mouse over loot here, I can only scroll wheel through it, which is a bit weird. It's a little disappointing for me because I really enjoy first-person games with keyboard and mouse, but if you're a controller player this won't affect you.
What's that? Lit up the...
Now, what I found most frustrating about the game was that enemies would respawn. This is a survival game with limited supplies to scavenge, so respawning enemies could be a bit annoying to deal with. Thing is though, the game has no fast travel system. I was having to go back and forth to the same areas for quests or leads. and all the enemies would have respawned, which was really annoying. Personally, I don't mind the lack of a fast travel system in a game. I can see how it could be a game design choice that makes the game world feel more immersive, but no fast travel combined with respawning enemies in a survival game? I'm not a fan of this.
That's where it all went wrong.
In my first playthrough, I tried to do everything I possibly could and complete the game at the 16-hour mark. Bear in mind, those 16 hours were heavily inflated by the lack of fast travel, going back and forth to areas, and dealing with those respawning enemies. So Atomfall isn't huge on playtime.
Are you completely crackers?
What I enjoyed the most was immersing myself into the general exploration, looting and scavenging, with the occasional environmental storytelling spicing it up. It was quite satisfying exploring the Interchange, unlocking new paths, or even opening shortcuts to old ones. You'll occasionally come across training stimulants which you can spend on the perk system, and you can also find a few manuals in the game world to unlock more perks to choose from. I eventually got one perk that let me pretty much auto-heal to 50% of my base health, which I personally thought was kind of overpowered, and I didn't really need to worry about the survival aspects of food or medical supplies once I got this perk.
Wanna trade again? You know where to find me.
There's a whole barter system. There isn't any money or currency for trading, you'll have to trade your supplies and weapons. There's some really worthwhile trades at the very start, but after that I never really found bartering worthwhile.
Got out wrong side of bed, did you?
So the journey to 100%. Well, Atomfall's a short one. It took me 16 hours for a full playthrough, like I mentioned earlier. Getting every achievement, including all endings in a separate speedrun, took me up to the 23-hour mark. If you're an achievement hunter, then Atomfall is a pretty easy one to 100%.
Splendid work.
Speedrunning the game for an achievement was quite fun. Because I had been back and forth a lot without any fast travel, I was learning the lay of the land. That knowledge came in useful for the speedrun. You can end absolutely anyone in this game, which turns out was really useful for the speedrun. I killed major story characters to quickly get important items like large batteries that I need to progress the Interchange. In a way, it's brilliant they can even do this.
Run for it!
Some highlights on my journey included batting a grenade back at enemies with a cricket bat,
Careful!
getting 10 of those really satisfying kills by throwing your melee weapon, and getting a few collectibles including garden gnomes. You'll eventually fully power up the Interchange and complete the game. Throughout the game you can help multiple characters, and your ending will be based entirely on which character you choose to stick with. But I've got to admit, the endings were very disappointing, with slideshow-like presentations. Most of the endings didn't really answer any of my questions about the story. They kind of sucked.
Why has this thing evolved out to you so far?
Alright, time to rank Atomfall and see how many petabytes it earned. I think the British themes and characters are goofy and fun and quite unique. Love the little town of Windham and getting to explore the little things like its bakery. I quite enjoyed the general exploration, scavenging for loot, and occasionally coming across some form of environmental storytelling. I quite like progressing the Interchange and solving its puzzles. While the mystery surrounding this place initially caught my interest, a few hours in it fell flat, and I was ultimately unsatisfied with the game's endings. Enemy AI isn't the best, the game's a little buggy, and there's some little user interface annoyances. Ultimately, I feel that the game is too short. While my main playthrough took only 16 hours, I'd point out that time was inflated by the constant back and forth across the world, with respawning enemies and no fast travel system. It was a tough one to rank. I'm giving Atomfall 70 petabytes. It just squeezes into the good tier. That's considering it's a new IP and it's got a much more reasonable asking price compared to other modern releases at launch. If it wasn't for the lower price, I'd be giving this a score in the 60s. I had fun for what it was. I still think it fell a little short of its full potential. I don't regret playing Atomfall. In fact, I still think it's worth blasting through on a weekend when it's on discount or on Game Pass. Alright, that's me done. Have a good one.